Welcome back, everyone, to the Bears Probably Plays YouTube channel. Today is Friday, September 6th, and we officially have the start of week number 2 in college football. Week number 1 went by way too fast. I'm going to blink, and this season's going to be over, but we got to try to soak up every moment. We're going to be looking at 2 more games for Friday, starting with BYU going on the road to take on SMU. Then we have a match between the Duke Blue Devils and the Northwestern Wildcats. 2 total player props towards the end of the video, and we're looking to start off Friday hot going into Saturday. Hope everybody enjoys their Friday, and let's break down some ball. All right, guys, here is the recap from Monday. Florida State guy on that line says he's going to eat dog shit out of a red Solo Cup. Everybody's calling for the head. Florida State, they might not win a game until he does it. But Boston College takes the game outright plus 17.5. Roydell Williams. Why? Man, I had a problem with this. Florida State, supposed to be big up front, right? O-line's supposed to be big. D-line's supposed to be big. Supposed to be their strength, size, and power. They came out against Boston College, and keep in mind this was 3 days ago. Memory might be faded. Almost positive they went pass, 3 and out to start the game. How do we not establish a run game in the first drive? Blew my mind. Roydell Williams never had a chance. I don't even know if he had 5-6 carries in this game, but Boston College, well-deserved win. Florida State, absolute dog water. Here's the leaderboard. 1-0 on the game pick, 0-1 on the player prop. I figured player props are going to start off bad because we don't have a lot to go off of, but game picks doing pretty well so far, 8-4 over the last 7 for the game picks. Looking to do a 2-0 day here on Friday going into Saturday. We had that 6-0 day on Saturday last week. Let's get into it. We're going to be looking at the BYU Cougars going up against the Mustangs of SMU. I was only able to catch the first couple drives for BYU, but I have watched SMU with both games. I'm very concerned about this team. They have all the talent in the world. They have 2 really good quarterbacks, in my opinion. I really wish that they would just stop doing the quarterback every other possession method because that usually never works. They struggled against Nevada in the first game, but it's perfectly fine. You know, they were trying to knock off some rust. Preston Stone, he looked bad in the first game as well. And they did finally start to put up some points in the second half of that game against Nevada. But this time, going up against Houston Christian, that's not a very competitive football team. They didn't look great in the first quarter. I think BYU is going to give them a little bit of problems, especially if they keep trying to put Kevin Jennings in over Preston Stone every other series. Teams need to find some sort of rhythm. If you're bringing in a quarterback every other possession, I don't know how it's possible to get the rhythm, especially with the wide receivers. SMU, they kept the ball on the ground for the most part going up against Houston Christian. I'm assuming they're probably going to try to throw the ball a little bit more in this game, but I can't trust them whenever they're going back and forth with the quarterbacks. I'm going to take BYU here in this game, plus 11.5. I think they're alive to win this game as well, outright, going up against SMU. Just off of what we've seen over the first couple games with SMU, especially in the first quarter, if they let BYU have some hope, they're going to take it, and they might win this game outright. BYU last week, they went up against the Salukis of Southern Illinois, and that's not a very good football team either. But we did see the quarterback pass for 348 yards. That was Jake Retzlaff. BYU has a quarterback controversy in the offseason, but they were very firm with their answers before the game that they said the plan was to start Jake. He did not disappoint. BYU has some really good skill players this season as well. They have a lot of talent around the starting quarterback, and the defense is kind of always a question mark for them. But BYU, they're a very frisky team, I feel like, every year. I don't think they should be getting double-digit points in this one against SMU. I love the head coach here for BYU, Keilani Satake. He's just a vibes guy. He's definitely a player's coach. I love everything about him. I really think BYU can keep it close here. I don't think we're going to see a whole lot of stops. I'm going to take points. 34-37 in favor of SMU late. They find a way to get the job done, but BYU covers the spread. For the second play tonight, we're going to be looking at a game that's going to go from a lot of points to little points. I'm going to take the Blue Devils here going up against Northwestern. Northwestern's going to be at home here. And, of course, I watched Northwestern last week, and because they played Miami, Ohio, I'm a Mid-American Conference guy. The MAC, the best conference in football, not talent-wise, just by an overall enjoyment of the game. The MAC Conference, it's in a category of its own. Now, in that game, Northwestern going up against Miami, Ohio, we did see Northwestern have a lot of offense, 328 yards. But in Northwestern fashion, they didn't score a lot. They only scored 13 points. The defense for Northwestern, they were outstanding against Miami, Ohio. They couldn't run the ball whatsoever. I don't think we're going to see a lot of running in this game either out of Duke. If we're talking about defenses, these are 2 very good defenses. And whenever Duke was playing Elon last week, the defensive coordinator of Duke was the happiest person I've ever seen after a missed 30-something yard field goal at right before the end of the half for Elon. Duke was looking for that shutout. They almost got it going up against Elon, but the Duke offense did not look good enough in week number 1. And that's okay because they're knocking off some rust. In this game, I think we're going to see both defenses battle it out, and then at the end of the game, the better quarterback's going to win this one, and that's going to be Malik Murphy of the Duke Blue Devils. I'm going to take Duke here on the money line, plus 120 to get the job done. These teams have met quite a bit over the last 5 games. Duke's held the advantage in all those games. I think Northwestern's going to want to try to run the ball on Duke, and I don't think that's going to be possible because Duke up front, they're fantastic. They were really good last season, hoping they're really good this season. From what we've seen so far, They're pretty good up front. Really, what this is going to come down to is the quarterback play. And Malik Murphy on the other side is a huge, huge advantage. And he also has Jordan Moore on the outside, probably the best skill player in this game. Northwestern, they definitely stopped the run last weekend, but Miami, Ohio, they were able to throw the ball pretty effectively. I think Duke is going to want to throw the ball in this game. That's going to be a problem for Northwestern in that secondary. They're pretty leaky. I think Duke wins this game 24-16 in favor of Duke. Close game, Malik Murphy and company. Towards the end of the game, they kind of take over. 24-16 as the play there. Let's go over to the player props. For the player props this weekend, we do have a little bit more to go off of because we had games last weekend, and we're going to start with BYU going up against SMU. Give me Chase Roberts of BYU to go over 48.5 receiving yards. This feels like it's way too low of a number, especially with the way BYU looked in game number 1. I know that they did not play a very good team, but SMU is not a very good defensive team either in the secondary. Nevada was able to get a lot of chunk plays off of them, and all it takes is a couple catches here to go over 50 yards. The BYU quarterback did look really good last week, and Chase Roberts was his favorite target. 7 catches, 108 yards in that game going up against the Salukis. SMU really hasn't seen a good quarterback in the first 2 games going up against Nevada and Houston Baptist. No offense to those guys. So I do think BYU is going to throw the ball a lot in this game. SMU has done a pretty good job defensively at stopping the run, especially going up against Nevada. Whenever they wanted to run the ball in the second half, they just couldn't do it. They were trying to chew some clock. They couldn't get any first downs. I'm going to take Chase Roberts in this game. I do think it's going to be a high-scoring game, so even more reason to take the over receiving yards for these player props. Over 48.5 as the play. For the second player prop, we're going to stick with the wide receivers, and I do think this is the most athletic guy on the field in this game. It's going to be Jordan Moore of Duke to go over 62.5 receiving yards against Northwestern. Again, just a little bit of a reminder, Northwestern, the first game going up against Miami, Ohio, who does not have a very good offense. They were able to throw for 227 yards going up against Northwestern. I know that doesn't sound like a lot, but whenever you look at the rushing numbers, it's definitely a lot. Miami, Ohio last week, 40 rushing yards in that game. We have Malik Murphy back there for Duke, and I love Jordan Moore in this game. He can get open in the secondary. There are a few weak spots back there. That's what we saw against Miami, Ohio. And let's say Duke can't get the run game going, because that's what we saw with Miami, Ohio. The next best option when you're trying to get the safety to come down and people to stack the box is throwing those quick screens. If Duke is struggling early running the ball, we're going to see Jordan Moore get the ball in his hands, most likely in the backfield, coming off of screens. That might be the best play for us in this game. He's quick, he's athletic, he has good hands. This is way too low of a number, and I know Northwestern's defense is good, but they've got a few problems in that secondary. Give me the over 62.5 here as the play. Let's go over to the recap graphic. We are going to be taking Duke on the money line against Northwestern and BYU plus 11.5 going up against SMU. We have Chase Roberts over 48.5 receiving yards against SMU, and Jordan Moore over 62.5 receiving yards going up against Northwestern. Put Preston Stone over there for players to watch because he was out-snapped by Jennings against Houston Baptist. Not sure if that was by plan or not, but I really hope Preston Stone does not lose his job. I think he's the better quarterback in that one. But that's going to do it, guys, for the NCAA football plays and props for Friday, September 6th slated games. So you guys enjoy the content, please sure drop a like on this video and subscribe to the channel below. See you guys next video, and thanks for watching.